I'd heard about situations like this before, but never in a million years did I think it would happen to me. So, you can imagine my shock when my wife of nearly 20 years dropped this bombshell during dinner. "Sweetheart, we need to talk," she said. My heart raced, and I braced myself for whatever was coming next. Was she going to confess to an affair? Did she want a divorce? I couldn't stop myself from wondering where things had gone wrong between us. As I looked at her from across the table, my hands trembling, I tried to keep my composure and asked, "Talk about what?" "Well," she started, taking a sip of wine and looking nervous, "I want to tell you that I love you." I noticed she hadn't eaten much, and I scrutinized her every movement, hoping to catch a hint of what she was about to reveal. Unable to stand the suspense any longer, I blurted out, "Have you been unfaithful?" Her expression shifted to one of shock, and she looked at me wide-eyed. "No, never," she assured me. "I would never betray you." The way she stressed "cheat" made me uneasy, but I felt a bit of relief. If it wasn't infidelity, then what could it be? "Are you thinking about leaving me?" I asked, my heart sinking. "Oh, George," she sighed, "where are you getting these ideas?" "I'm not leaving you. I love you." "Great," I replied, "I love you too. I want us to grow old together and share our lives." Maggie's face brightened, and she smiled warmly. "Me too, George," she said. "So what's the issue? Are you okay?" I asked, starting to worry about her health. "I'm fine, dear," she reassured me. "I didn't mean to worry you, but I've been feeling like something's off between us lately. With Meredith off to college, things just feel different. It might be empty nest syndrome or a midlife crisis, but we seem stuck." I was relieved but still concerned about what was troubling her. "Stuck? How so?" I asked. "Well," she said, "we're so busy with work that we hardly have time for each other. Your job keeps you away often, and I'm stuck at the office late. When we're not working, we're both exhausted. When was the last time we were intimate? When was the last time we had love?" I echoed her question, honestly unable to recall. Maggie hadn't shown much interest in intimacy for a long time, and I had resorted to masturbation for months. "It's been a while," I admitted, "but every time I try to initiate anything, you turn me down. There's always an excuse." "True," Maggie admitted, "I know I'm usually exhausted when you're in the mood. But back when we were younger, tiredness didn't stop us. We used to be close 3 or 4 times a week. Now it's more like once every 3 or 4 months, if that." I agreed with her, feeling frustrated. It seemed like she was blaming me for the lack of closeness when she was the one always saying no. "If it were up to me, we'd be intimate more often," she explained. "I want us to break out of this routine. I want to improve things between us so we can stay together for life. We're both feeling bored, George. We need to shake things up." "I'm not bored," I countered. "I've got plenty of excitement in my life." "Excitement?" she asked with a smirk. "What do you have planned for tonight?" "I'm watching The Curse of Oak Island. They're promising a major discovery tonight," I said, reflecting on her comments. "But don't they always promise that and end up finding nothing but mud and some old wood?" "Yeah, pretty much," I admitted. "See?" she said with a smirk. "Boring." "It's not boring, it's just comfortable. After being married as long as we have, comfort becomes the norm," I replied. "That's exactly my point," Maggie said. "When we first got married, you used to be so passionate every night. But that's long gone. Is that the problem?" I set my fork down. "Do you want me to be more aggressive? Pull down your pants and go at it right here on the table?" "That's not quite what I meant, George," she said. "Honestly, I've lost just as much interest in our intimacy as you have. It's where we are in our lives. We've lost that spark, and that's what worries me. We're still relatively young, And if we've lost so much passion already, what will we have left in a few years? How will we stay together? We'll stick together because we're married, that's what couples do. We're used to each other and we're comfortable. And who says I'm not interested in intimacy? I am. We're like roommates now, but comfortable ones, I said. I think we're more than roommates. We still have moments of closeness and love. So, we're roommates with occasional perks, I argued. Yes, I love you, and I know you love me. But can you really say you're still as crazy about me as you were when we first got married? She asked. It's different now, I explained. Our love has matured like a fine wine. We're older, and our desire isn't as intense as it used to be. But it could be, she said, holding my hand. Don't you want to rekindle that excitement and chemistry we once had? I'm not sure, Maggie. I actually like how things are now. Sure, I'd appreciate more closeness, but I enjoy coming home and relaxing peacefully with you. We've worked hard to get to this comfortable place. It's like that old hammock in the backyard. I've been saying for years that one day I'll finally get to lie out there and read a book. Now that I'm ready to do that, you want to get rid of it. Maggie looked at me, processing my words, then shook her head. I don't get that comparison. But I'm not asking you to give anything up. I'm saying we need to reignite the romance and spice things up before it's too late. My desire isn't gone, it's just been subdued. I want to feel that excitement we used to have, when we couldn't get enough of each other. So you're saying our sex life isn't satisfying? I asked. No, not at all, she said. You're a fantastic lover, thoughtful and skilled. You always know how to make me feel good, and I've never faked it with you. The problem isn't that our intimacy is lacking, it's that we rarely seem to want it. What are you getting at? I asked. I'm lost, Maggie said. I'm saying I need more. It feels like we've shifted from being lovers to just partners. I want to feel your love for me again. I want to feel my love for you again. I crave passion, desire, romance, and closeness. But you said you didn't want closeness, I pointed out. So, do you or don't you? I want closeness, she replied. It sounds like you want to feel young again. Are you sure this isn't just a hormonal issue? Are you having hot flashes or something? Don't go there, George, she snapped. Don't belittle my feelings by attributing them to hormonal changes. Just because I'm upset doesn't mean it's PMS, and wanting to revive our love doesn't mean I'm going through menopause. I'm sorry, you're right, I said. That was thoughtless of me. I'm just trying to understand where all this is coming from suddenly. It's not sudden, Maggie said, her voice trembling. I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm afraid if we don't make some significant changes to reignite our relationship, our marriage won't survive. She looked like she might cry. I know we've been coasting for a while. Well, if this isn't out of the blue, I said, why bring it up now? Why didn't you talk to me about this earlier? It took me a while to get to this point, she explained. But I'm bringing it up now because I didn't want it to keep eating away at me. Maybe she had a point. I cared about Maggie and would do almost anything to make her happy and strengthen our bond. Okay, I'm all ears, I said. I can see you've put a lot of thought into this, and it's important to you. What should we do? Should we see a marriage counselor? I've heard about something called intimacy coaches. Should I look into that? Those are good ideas, Maggie said, wiping away a tear with a smile. Thanks for suggesting them. I think we should consider them. I also have a few other ideas. Like what? I asked. Well, let me ask you something first, she said. Your company is a creative agency, right? You always tell me how you're among the best at what you do. Yes, we're one of the top 2 in the state, maybe even top 5 in the country, I replied. How does that relate to our love life? Do you hire only the best talent? She asked. Absolutely, I said. And how many of them have stayed with the company for, say, 20 years? None, I admitted. Our company has only been around for 6 years. We're always bringing in fresh talent. Our field has a lot of turnover. So, you're constantly bringing in new blood with fresh ideas and approaches? She asked. Yes, I said. We're big on innovation. Our methods are always evolving, and these newcomers bring new skills and energy that benefit everyone. Got it, Maggie said. So, where are you going with this? We're hitting our 20-year mark next month, I said. We were exclusive for 3 years before that. In all that time, I've been faithful to you, and as far as I know, you've been faithful to me. That means, for almost 23 years, we've only been with each other. You were my first, and as you've said, you had only 2 girlfriends before me. True, I said, starting to feel uneasy. A knot formed in my stomach. And? Well, she continued, would you hire someone at your company if they learned their skills 23 years ago and never updated them or brought in any fresh ideas or education? Would you want employees who only practice their work sporadically? Would your company be top-notch if no one strived to improve and innovate constantly? Of course not, I agreed. But this is about us, not work. What's your point? I'm saying that 23 years ago, we were at our peak. We had a vibrant, exciting closeness that felt new and exhilarating. But then life changed. We became parents, then professionals, and busy with countless activities. We sharpened our skills in those areas but neglected our connection with each other. We kept doing things the same way we always had, from 23 years ago. It grew dull. The excitement faded, and we got tired of the routine. We lost the spark. What are you trying to tell me, Maggie? I asked. I'm saying I'm done with comfort, George, she said firmly. I'm tired of it. I want something fresh, something exciting. I want to learn new things and become better at making love. I want to use that to reignite our spark and shake up our monotonous, cozy life. I want to feel love again. I want a partner who's passionate, not just a roommate. I need that fire. Okay, I said, my voice trembling. I felt jittery, unsure if it was anxiety, adrenaline, or just my instincts kicking in. I'll do whatever it takes to bring passion back. We can have regular date nights and engage in activities you enjoy. I'll cut down on TV time, and we can find a hobby to share. We can travel more, too. You love trips, so why not go somewhere each month, even if it's just a night at a trendy hotel in town? Maggie took my hand, kissed it gently, and then shook her head. George, I know you'd move mountains for me if you could. I appreciate your ideas and know you think they would help. But in the end, it's still us doing them. We're still stuck in the same routine, and soon enough, we'll grow tired of that too. Those suggestions are a start, but they're still too comfortable. We're not truly learning or exploring anything new. So, what's your plan then? I asked, trying to follow along but feeling lost. What exactly are you suggesting? Should we try going to a swinger resort or something? Oh God, no, she said, making a disgusted face. I couldn't handle a place like that. I don't want to deal with creepy people trying to pull us into casual encounters. Then what? I asked, feeling increasingly frustrated. Well, I think we need something that really shakes things up. Something fresh and exciting to reboot our relationship and reignite our romance. We need to bring back the spark in our intimate lives. At this point, I was willing to consider almost anything she suggested. That sounds interesting. I'm open to it. How do you propose we do that? I think I should start seeing other people, Maggie said. Hold up, I said, pulling my hands away from her and giving her a bewildered look. Repeat that. I don't think I heard you correctly. I said I'm thinking about dating other people, she repeated. Yeah, I heard you loud and clear, I said, leaning back in my chair. Then I leaned forward again, staring at Maggie as if she'd lost her mind. Are you actually serious? She seemed surprised by my reaction. Yes, I'm serious. I've really thought this through. I believe this is what we need. Maggie, you've had some wild ideas before, but this one is off the charts. I don't think it's crazy, George. If you let me explain, I'm sure you'll understand. Okay, explain how you think dating other guys will somehow improve our relationship and spice things up. Maggie, I'm not talking about cheating on you. Not at all. That's not what I mean. So, you want to go on dates with other men, instead of me? I asked, incredulous. Yes, exactly. Romantic dates. So, you're talking about real, genuine dates, like we used to have? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Real dates. Would these dates include intimacy on the first date, or would you make them wait like you did with me? George, I never mentioned intimacy. That's true, but when you talk about real dates, it implies that intimacy might be part of it. Intimacy isn't necessarily off limits, but I'm not saying that's the main point. I'd see where things go and how the relationships develop. So, not only do you want to date other men, but you're also open to the possibility of intimacy and developing relationships with them? You're misunderstanding, George. You're focusing on the worst-case scenario. Yes or no, Maggie? Would you be intimate with these dates? She hesitated. It's complicated. Yes or no? I guess, yes. That's being unfaithful. No, it's not. How do you not see that as unfaithful? You're planning to date someone else, have romantic interactions, and possibly be intimate. That's unfaithful. I was seething, struggling to keep my composure. This was spiraling out of control. Maggie remained calm, which only made me more frustrated. It was like she was trying to be the rational one while I was losing it. It wouldn't be unfaithful, she said calmly. Because you'd be aware of everything. You'd know who I'm with, what we're doing. We'd discuss everything after I come back home. Oh my gosh, I shouted, each word sharp with frustration. You want to betray me and humiliate me at the same time. Why would you think I'd agree to you dating or being with someone else? What has gotten into you? Did you actually think I'd accept this nonsense? George, please, try to stay calm. We need to talk about this. There's no need for shouting or harsh words. I glared at her. Did you really think I'd go along with this? I know it might be difficult for you to understand, she said. But you love me, and you're reasonable and intelligent. I thought you'd calm down, see the logic behind this, and support me. Support you? While you're seeing other men? It's not just about being with other men. If that's all I wanted, I could have been doing it for years. I could have been with your brother, your friends, even your boss, Maggie said. They've all hit on me countless times. But I never did. I'd never cheat on you. I'd never do that to you. But now you're suggesting it. No, sweetheart, she corrected. This isn't about cheating. It's not just for me, it's for both of us. It'll bring excitement, fun, and new experiences. Our bed life will come alive again. I'll feel alive again, and you'll be a part of it. We're in this together. So you want me to join you on these dates? I asked, trying to make sense of it all. No, she said. I meant together in a broader sense. Not literally. You'd be at home while I go out on the dates. Then, when I come back, I'll share all the details with you. I chuckled, feeling a mix of disbelief and anger. So you expect me to pleasure you after he's been with you? And clean up after him? She actually blushed. I couldn't believe it. She really wanted me to do that. Well, that would be the ultimate way for you to show your love. I'd sooner freeze over before I ever do that, I told her coldly. Okay, we can skip that part, she said, her voice faltering. Unless you want to destroy our marriage, I added. It won't destroy our marriage, Maggie said. You being intimate with another man? It won't be lovemaking, George. I save that for you. I love you, not him. It's just act. Just act? I repeated, trying to grasp her meaning. What exactly does that mean? It means there won't be any emotions involved, she said. We'll only be exploring each other physically. Nothing more. Just act. I studied her carefully. Let me get this straight. You want to have just act with another man? If it comes to that, yes, she confirmed. So why? Why seek just act with someone else? She hesitated. I guess for variety. To try something different. That suggests I'm not fulfilling your needs, I said calmly. You're not satisfied with me and want to find someone better. No, Maggie protested, that's not true. I love having closeness with you. You're fantastic in bed. I don't want anyone else. If that were true, I reasoned, you wouldn't be considering someone else. The only reason for seeking just act with someone new is to upgrade. To find someone better at it than what you already have. That's not true, she countered, but she didn't offer any evidence. Oh, but it is, I argued. Think about it. If you love sushi and you found the best sushi spot in town right next door, why would you try the 20 other sushi spots around if you already have the best? She pondered this for a moment. I guess to try something different. But why? I continued, if you know this place is the best, would you want to go somewhere you know won't be as good or satisfying? I'm a bit confused, she admitted, looking downcast. Maybe it's just a desire for variety. If it's only about closeness, why seek it elsewhere if you're content with our bed life? I asked. If I satisfy you, then why not have more closeness with me? We hardly ever do, so if you want more, we can make it happen more often. But instead, you'd rather do it with someone else who might be better or worse. It's clear it's not just about closeness, or you wouldn't be considering someone else. You think he might be better? I'm not sure, she said, looking puzzled. You're making this complicated, but it's not like that. Okay, so it's solely about physical closeness, right? I asked. Yes, she replied, exasperated. If that's true, I said with a grin, I have a suggestion. Her eyes brightened with a glimmer of hope. You do? What is it? If it's only about physical intimacy, then I'm willing to let you explore it, I said. I'll hire a male escort to come here. He'll be skilled, well-endowed, and healthy. That way, you can have what you want without the risk of emotional attachment. Her face fell. An escort? Are you out of your mind? Because it's only about physical intimacy, I countered. If it's just about the act, then who it is shouldn't matter. He'd be a stranger, quick, and gone. You'd get what you want without risking any emotional connection. I don't want to do it with some random stranger, she said, clearly upset. I need a connection with the person. I'm not just an object. Exactly, I said with a smirk. So it's not just about physical closeness. You want more than that. You want intimacy with a specific person because you have chemistry with him. Her face flushed again, and she couldn't respond. Finally, she said, okay, maybe that's partly true, but it won't be significant. What do you mean by that? I asked, chuckling. Significant to whom? To me or to him? To both of us, she replied. We both know it's just physical. He knows I love you and he's not expecting anything more. You really believe it won't be meaningful to you? I asked. I do, she insisted. Then why do it if it's meaningless? I challenged. If it means nothing, you wouldn't want to do it. You want to be with him because it does mean something. She buried her face in her hands and groaned. You're making my head spin. We agreed to share that level of intimacy only with each other when we got married, I said. And now you're willing to toss that aside just to experiment with someone else. You want to explore intimacy with someone else because you feel a connection to him. You're not content with what we share, so you're seeking an upgrade. No, that's not it, she murmured weakly. So you're hoping to sleep with him to find out he's not as good as me? I pressed. To see if he has a smaller, you know? She stared at me, unable to respond. Of course not, she said finally. I wouldn't consider it if I thought it might be the same or worse than what we have. You're only interested because you think it'll be much better, I said. The idea of it is what excites you. I don't know, she shouted, her frustration clear. I never looked at it like that. You're making this more complicated. So what happens when you come home after he satisfies you more than I do? I asked. Have you thought about that? I hadn't, she admitted, her voice wavering. What are you getting at? I'm saying that if you've experienced better intimacy with someone else, how can you expect things to stay the same between us? I said. You want to spice things up, but if he's better, you might not want it with me anymore. You'll be chasing him, and I'll be left feeling like I'm just a placeholder. How can our relationship survive that? I demanded. How can I keep loving you knowing I'm not enough? How can I kiss you, knowing you might be thinking of another man's kiss? How can I touch you, knowing his touch is preferred? She stared at me, her silence heavy with uncertainty. How can we move forward if you might be comparing us, if you find him better? I didn't marry you to be a second choice. She shook her head, trying to dismiss my concerns. But it won't be like that. If it won't be like that, why consider it at all? I pressed. You're only thinking about it because you believe it'll be extraordinary. If not, why even entertain the idea? When she remained silent, I continued. And the worst part is, there's no winning for me. I love you deeply, find you incredible, and have always wanted you. I thought we had something special, but now you're tearing us apart. It doesn't matter how good we are together, you're focused on what it could be with him. The excitement of something new, the thrill of breaking the norm, those are driving your desire. Even if we were equal in every way, you might still think he's better. I can't win in this scenario. She looked at me, stunned and speechless. I was filled with anger. Who's putting these ideas in your head? George, please, she began. Forget it, Maggie, I interrupted, my voice cold. This is madness. I'm not going to agree to you dating anyone. I won't sit by while you're with someone else. If you think I'd let someone else be intimate with you, you've lost touch with who I am. You've become someone who doesn't value our marriage. She was taken aback, clearly hurt. George, you're overreacting, she said, tears welling in her eyes. No, I said firmly, my tone unyielding. You're not taking this seriously enough. Get out. I don't want you here. If this is what you really want, then we're done. The very idea of this means you've already checked out of our marriage. So leave. I'm not leaving, Maggie said, her voice stubborn. This is ridiculous. I live here. I'm your wife. You can't just kick me out. Let's talk this through like adults. Fine, stay if you want, I snapped, grabbing my keys and wallet from the counter. I stormed through the kitchen toward the garage. Where are you going? She asked, panic lacing her voice. Tears streamed down her face as she stared at me in disbelief. Anywhere but here, I said coldly. It's suffocating in this place. Please, George, don't leave, she pleaded desperately. We can work through this. Let's talk it out. I stopped and turned to face her. Here's the deal. I'll stay if you promise me one thing: never bring up this idea again or anything like it. Pledge to remain faithful to me for the rest of our lives, just as we vowed on our wedding day. No more thoughts of other men. No more desires for anything but us. Her eyes betrayed her inner turmoil. She seemed on the brink of a breakdown. George, please, I think it might help us. That sounds like a no to me, I said, opening the garage door. Maggie's cries for me to stay echoed behind me. Wait, please. I swear it. I promise I won't mention it again. Just don't leave. I turned around, my frustration palpable. I don't know who's been feeding you this nonsense, but I'll find out. If I discover you've been seeing him or sleeping with him, I'll divorce you. That's a fact. We're not dating, George, she said, her voice trembling. Nothing's happened. If you want any chance at salvaging our marriage, I said, you better not be lying. No more secrets. No more lies. No more games. I'm not, she protested. I swear. We just talked about it. You talked about sleeping with another guy, I said, my voice dripping with disdain. This confirms what I've been saying. Your request wasn't about meaningless sex. You want my approval to be with some specific guy you've already been planning things with. I could see her face crumple as she began to cry harder. I'm so disgusted with you, I said, barely able to look at her. I'm sorry, George, she said through her tears. I didn't think you'd react this way. He said you might be upset initially, but would come around. Upset? I yelled. Who the hell is he? She hesitated, then finally said, Stephen. I glanced toward the open garage door. By not telling me everything, you're picking him over me. Stephen Archer, the consultant you've been working with lately? The guy from the dinner at Holohan's? Yes, that's him, she admitted. We've been talking. I needed to sit down. I shut the garage door and returned to the table. Tell me everything, I demanded. Everything? She asked, looking uncertain. Yes, I said. I want to know all about your conversations, what you've done, and everything about this guy. She nodded, tears still in her eyes. Can I sit? It's still your house, I replied coldly. But you can tell me everything. Maggie took a deep breath and began to recount the details of her interactions with Stephen Archer. Over the next few hours, she unfolded the entire story of how Stephen had manipulated her. It had started months ago, with Stephen planting seeds of doubt and desire subtly, careful not to push too hard so she wouldn't notice. He had only talked with her, no physical contact, no kisses. His strategy was to maintain a facade of innocence. He intended to wait until I gave my approval before making any move. As she finished her account, I realized two things. First, my marriage was in deep trouble, even if she severed ties with Stephen. Second, Stephen needed to face consequences. I needed to devise a plan to address both issues, but I felt paralyzed and needed time to think. Are you still angry with me? Maggie asked, her voice trembling. I'm not sure how to describe what I'm feeling, I said honestly. I'm hurt and enraged that you'd even entertain these ideas. If you wanted to reignite our intimacy, there were plenty of other ways, like not rejecting me every time I tried to connect with you. Maggie looked down, a mixture of shame and regret on her face. After a moment, she looked up again. And what about the other parts? I sighed heavily. Part of me feels sympathy that you were deceived by Stephen and wants to find a way forward. That's good, Maggie said, her voice hopeful. So, can we just move past this and return to how things were? No, I said firmly. There's still a part of me that wants to walk away and never look back. I might eventually forgive you, but it will take a lot of time and effort. Maggie's eyes were pleading. Is there any part of you that finds the idea exciting or intriguing? Seriously, Maggie? I snapped. After everything I've just said? I'm sorry, she whispered, her face flushed with embarrassment. I'm really sorry. So what now? I asked, trying to regain control of my emotions. To be honest, I'm not sure, I admitted. I need time to figure out what to do next. The fact that you're still entertaining these ideas speaks volumes. I'm really sorry, Maggie repeated, her voice breaking. Please tell me you don't want a divorce. I don't know, I said coldly. It depends on what you do next. If you lie to me again, it's over. If you don't completely cut Steven out of your life, it's over. He'll probably ask about it, Maggie said nervously. What should I say? You need to decide what to tell him, I said. Do you communicate outside of work, call, text, anything? Not really, she said, her eyes downcast. We mostly talk at work. Steven made it clear we shouldn't contact each other outside of work, but he might bring it up tomorrow. Tell him to forget it, I said, focusing on the issue of Steven. Absolutely. Is he married? I asked. Maggie nodded. Yes. They just had their second child a few months ago. Seriously, Maggie? I exclaimed. He just had a baby, and you were thinking about getting involved with him? Did you even think about his wife and family? He said his wife was okay with it, Maggie replied, her voice barely above a whisper. They have an open marriage. And you believe that? I asked, incredulous. She blushed deeply, finally realizing the absurdity of her situation. I guess I wanted to believe him. Now I see how misguided that was. Maggie, I said, studying her closely, if we're going to salvage our marriage, you need to be fully on my side. No hesitation, no siding with him. If you can't do that, then forget it. We'll call it quits. I'm on your side, honey, Maggie promised, her voice earnest. I swear it. You and our daughter are all that matter to me. Stay here, I instructed, getting up to retrieve my laptop. I brought it back and set it on the table between us. Have you checked his Facebook page? Yeah, a few times, but he's not big on social media, Maggie replied. I slid the laptop over to her. Find it for me. She typed for a moment before saying, here it is. The Facebook profile was sparse, no relationship status, no family photos, not even a mention of his wife. I shifted to LinkedIn and looked up Steven Archer. Jackpot. His LinkedIn profile revealed more information than his Facebook page had. Do you know his wife's first name? I asked. Janet, Maggie said. I did a quick search for Janet Archer and found 2 results. Is she a realtor or an IT recruiter? She runs a high-end real estate agency, Maggie said. She deals with million-dollar homes. I clicked on the realtor link, and her profile popped up. It featured a stunning, young blonde. Is this her? I asked, staring at the beautiful woman who seemed to be the complete opposite of the description Steven had given. I don't think so, Maggie said, shaking her head. I've never seen her picture, but that doesn't match what he told me. He said she was older, overweight, and not pretty. I chuckled. Of course he did. This Janet Archer looks young, fit, and stunning. I pulled up her Facebook page. Look at this, I said. Her public profile shows she's married to a Steve and has 2 daughters, Selena and Catherine. Yeah, Maggie said, her eyes widening as she looked at the pictures. Those are Steven's daughters' names. I scrolled through the photos and saw a bunch of family pictures, including some from a recent cheerleading event. Janet and her daughters were smiling, and right beside them was Steve. Maggie gasped. That's him, she said, her voice trembling. No offense, but that's not what he told me about her. Why would he bother with you when he's got a gorgeous wife at home? I asked, pulling up photos of Steve and his wife. I don't know, Maggie said, looking hurt and close to tears again. That's not what he said about her. He told you they're in an open marriage, right? I asked. That's what he said, Maggie replied, sounding unsure. I found some bikini photos of Janet and whistled. Maybe I overreacted, I said, gazing at Janet's pretty face. Maybe I've been seeing this wrong. What do you mean? Maggie asked, her curiosity piqued. You have his number, right? I asked. Maggie looked nervous. Yeah, why? I'm not calling him, I said. You are. Maggie looked shocked. I can't do that. Wait, I said, you said you were on my side. You have to back me up no matter what I decide, right? She nodded. Yeah, that's what I said. Great, I said, then give him a call. Maggie agreed but hesitated, her fingers hovering over her phone. Before I do, Maggie said, her voice shaking, can I ask why? I smirked. Well, Steven wants to sleep with you, right? Maggie nodded, eyes wide. So if I'm going to let him do that, I continued, don't you think it's only fair that I get to sleep with his wife? Wait, seriously? Maggie's voice rose in disbelief. You want to sleep with his wife? Look at her, I said, pointing at Janet Archer's picture in a skimpy bikini. She's pretty attractive. That's not happening, Maggie said, crossing her arms defiantly. I chuckled. You wanted to spice up our sex life, right? Yes, Maggie said, her arms folding tightly across her chest. I did. And you thought hooking up with Steven would do that, I said. So wouldn't it be even more exciting if I hooked up with his wife too? They're in an open marriage, after all. Yeah, but, Maggie hesitated. It's not just about you being with someone random. Oh really? I grinned. So now she's a random person. She's married to Steven and can be with other men. You're married to me and want the same. Isn't that pretty much the same thing? Maggie shot me an incredulous look. No, it's not the same. Why not? I pressed. How is me hooking up with Janet any different from you and Steven? She's too good looking, Maggie said, clearly uncomfortable. So it's okay if I hook up with someone less attractive? I challenged. No, that's not what I meant, Maggie said, sounding defeated. It's just different. Different how? I pushed. Are you worried I'll enjoy it too much? Or that I might prefer her over you? Maybe, Maggie admitted. Or maybe you're scared I'll be thinking of her when I'm with you. Yeah, that's part of it, she confessed reluctantly. I see what you're getting at, I said. But we agreed to drop this whole thing. We did, Maggie said. But that was before I saw her and really thought about your suggestion. So now that you think you can have a fling with a hot woman, you're okay with me and Steven? Maggie retorted. Hell yes, I said. Why not? You're a jerk, Maggie said, her voice rising. I'm a jerk for wanting fairness? I shot back. You're the one who wanted to involve someone else. I'm just going along with it. No, Maggie said, sounding frustrated. You're messing with what I had in mind. So you wanted to be intimate with someone else, but you don't want me to do the same? I argued. You're just trying to confuse me. I told you it wasn't like that, Maggie said, tears welling up. Maggie, let's keep this civil, I said, trying to calm the situation. I'm starting to think this could actually work out. I don't want any part of it, Maggie insisted. You talked me out of it. I realize now it was a mistake. It was a mistake, I agreed. Let's forget about it. No more rushing into things. I found Steven's number and began dialing on Maggie's phone. Let's just see what he has to say. No, don't call him. Maggie cried, grabbing my arm. Shoo, calm down, I said softly, trying to soothe her. It's ringing. I put the phone on speaker so Maggie could hear both sides of the conversation. A man answered, his voice low and cautious. Maggie, I told you not to call me at home. Hi, is this Stephen Archer? I asked, my tone firm. There was a long pause, followed by a click, and then the line went dead. That's odd, I said to Maggie. Looks like we got disconnected. Let me try calling back. Maggie reached for the phone, her voice trembling. Please, don't do this. I hushed her gently, pulling the phone out of her reach. It sounds like you're having second thoughts. Hello, Stephen. This is Maggie's husband. Are you still there? I asked firmly. Yeah, what do you want? Stephen's voice came through, clearly annoyed. Is this a bad time? I inquired. What do you want? He repeated, sounding more irritated. Well, I started. Maggie mentioned your idea about going out on a date. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Finally, Stephen responded, and? I think it could work, I said, despite Maggie's attempts to intervene. I silenced her and continued, but of course, with some clear boundaries and agreements. Boundaries and agreements? Stephen echoed, puzzled. Yes, I confirmed. If you're going to be involved with my wife, let's keep it above board, no secrets. Sure, I guess, Stephen replied, lacking confidence. I mean, we don't want to wreck a marriage with lies and tricks. I love Maggie and want to keep our marriage intact, I said. So, as long as we're all open about it and know what's going on, it should be fine. Okay, yeah, Stephen agreed, sounding uncertain. Maggie stared at me in disbelief, her mouth agape. When I glanced at her, she shook her head. Honey, I don't want to go through with this, she said softly. I waved her off and turned back to Stephen. Why don't you get Janet and put the phone on speaker? What? Stephen responded, stunned. Bring Janet, I said, the mother of your two daughters, Selena and Catherine. The woman you're in an open relationship with. Let her hear all the details. Listen, you jerk, Stephen snarled. I don't know what kind of game you're playing. Stephen, I'm not playing games, I reassured him. Maggie told me about you and Janet. She said you're okay with her sleeping with other people. We were just looking at her bikini photos on Facebook, and I have to admit, I'm interested in being with her while you're with my wife. What? Stephen exclaimed sharply. You want to be with Janet? While I'm with Maggie? Is that what you think this is? Isn't that what swingers do? I asked. Swap spouses. Keep my wife out of this, you jerk, Stephen demanded. Stephen, I said calmly, it's a bit late for that. You've been wooing my wife for months. Wasn't Janet pregnant with Selena for most of that time? Congratulations on her birth, by the way. I bet Janet's ready for some action now. Shut up. Stephen yelled. I told you to leave Janet alone. So, she doesn't know you're after Maggie? I asked, glancing at Maggie, who was now crying with her face in her hands. I thought you and Janet had an open marriage. I heard a woman's voice in the background. Honey, what's going on? Who's on the phone? Nobody, it's fine, Stephen replied, his voice tense. Just get the girls ready. Oh, right, I continued. It's a big day today. Catherine has a cheerleading tournament this afternoon. How do I know that? Why do you care? Stephen snapped. It's amazing what you can uncover on Facebook, I said with a chuckle. I've got an idea. There was a pause on the line as Stephen processed my words. What kind of idea? He finally asked. Why don't Maggie and I join you and Janet at the tournament? We'll fill her in on what she's missed. Then we can hit a bar, have a few drinks, get to know each other, and finish the night with some fun. I'll even let you and Maggie have the master bedroom." Stephen's voice grew harsh. "Stay away from my wife and kids, you jerk. I'll make sure you regret it if I see you near us." "Calm down, Stephen," I said firmly. "You mentioned no secrets and everyone should be aware of the situation, Janet included, right?" "Screw you," Stephen shouted. "Don't ever call me again." "All right, I'll just dial Janet then," I said quickly before he could hang up. "Wait," Stephen barked. "How did you even get her number?" "That's beside the point," I told him. "What's important is that everyone knows what you've been up to with my wife and your intentions." There was a moment of silence before Stephen asked, "What do you want from me?" "I want you to stay away from my wife," I snapped. "If I find out you're near her, I'll tell Janet everything. Understand?" "Crystal clear," Stephen responded, his voice subdued. "But we work together. I can't completely avoid her." "Maggie's on vacation for the next 2 weeks," I said. "By the time she's back, you'd better be out of that company. You're a consultant, so tell your bosses that a personal issue with one of the wives requires you to be reassigned. They'll likely transfer you before Maggie returns." "And if I don't?" he challenged. I turned to Maggie. "Call Janet and tell her everything." Maggie looked at me, surprised. It was a bluff, but Stephen didn't need to know that. I motioned for Maggie to go ahead. "All right," she said, wiping her tears. "Wait," Stephen interrupted. "Okay, I'll talk to them first thing in the morning." "Good," I replied. "You're not as clueless as Maggie thought. One last thing, Maggie can hear you now. Apologize to her." There was a pause, then Stephen's voice, tinged with irritation, muttered, "Sorry, Maggie." Before Maggie could respond, I cut in. "Don't contact my wife again. Now, get ready to go to the cheerleading tournament with your family. Best of luck to Catherine." I hung up and tossed the phone on the counter. I turned to Maggie, who looked up at me with pleading eyes. "I'm really sorry," she began, but I cut her off. "Tomorrow, call your boss and explain that you have a family emergency and need a 2-week break," I instructed. She nodded, avoiding eye contact. "Now," I said, "pull down your pants, bend over the table, and let me show you how I feel." Maggie met my gaze, recognizing the anger in my eyes. She bit her lip, obeyed, and bent over the kitchen table, pushing aside our untouched breakfast. I stood behind her, delivering a firm slap to her buttocks, leaving a bright red mark. She winced in pain. "I'm the only one you'll be going out with," I growled, then made love to my wife with more intensity than ever before.